guys, and welcome to this week's video. So in this video we will be making the neck of the costume. So we'll have the head. You always need a neck. Covers up the foam from underneath or whatever you're using. It also makes sure that it looks more authentic and it hides the skin, so it doesn't ruin the magic, and it just always looks better with a neck. So I'm going to show you guys how to create a neck and attach it. Okay, so firstly we are going to need a measuring tape, some scissors for paper, and a pen. Stat, let's go. You may also need a ruler. I'm using this 1-inch ruler. Alright, I'm going to draw it here for you guys. So I'm going to draw the doggo real quick. You guys can see how terrible my art is. The beautiful artwork we have, okay? And then this is what the neck's going to be. So we have the fursuit head normally stops at about the human chin, okay? So human chin. And then we've got the human neck, which is normally about 5 inches for an average human. And then we have the shoulders down the sides. My drawing is terrible, but we're getting there. So we want the neck to come down 5 inches, but we can't have it going straight down because otherwise it will kind of like bubble up on the shoulders, like it won't go down properly. So what we need to do is, once it's gone down 5 inches, bring it in. So the neck still comes down at the front, but is able to avoid the shoulders. I hope this makes sense. So this is what we'll have, if that makes sense. So we'll have this kind of pattern, and we'll have 2 halves, one for the front, one for the back, and then we'll sew down the sides once we've sewn it onto the head, but we only sew before it starts coming in, because you don't want to sew it shut where it can't break down the shoulders. We don't want it getting stuck at the shoulders. So I hope that that's the best I can explain basically. We're going to start from anywhere, and you just want to measure flat underneath all the way round, not round this bit, around where we're attaching the neck. You want to measure all the way round. So it's about 25 inches around. So we know we're going to be having the front neck piece and the back neck piece and then joined together. So let's start off with the front neck piece. So there are multiple ways of doing this. You can have the whole neck piece that you just measured, half it, and then go down. Or what you can do, because sometimes it's not completely at halfway, what you can do is measure it. If you don't have a mannequin, by the way, you can always use a friend and someone wear it while you do it. But you measure from where the shoulder is about to go down, round. So mine's about 12.5. Which is actually half of 25. Yeah, half of 25, which is the circumference we got for around the neck. So that's perfect. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is draw the first line, which is 12.5. I'm going to be making it 13 just to add a sewing allowance. We have 13 inches across. Next part is the shoulder pieces. I'm going to do 5 inches to allow seam allowance for when it gets attached to the head. From the line we've just drawn, go straight down at 5 inches. And do the same on the other side. At this point, we're now going to be bringing it down to the front. Start by halving the top line, 6.5 from this point, and I'm just going to make a really long line. I'm using the top edge of my ruler to make sure that this down line is straight when going against this line. If I measure from the chin where it's going to neck, and how far down you would want it. I would generally say to the bottom of the mannequin, but I'm going to do it at 10 inches. So along this line, I'm going to go down 10 inches. So we've got our line, a few inches down until we hit the shoulders. So this is the human shoulders. Then we've got a line in the middle of how long we would like the neck to be. Kind of need to curve up from the middle to the sides, but you don't want to do a deep curve. I'm going to bring it in nicely, so just kind of mess around, use different pens to see which shape you really like. And now I'm going to fold it in half along that middle line. Then pick which side you like best. I'm going with this side and cut it out. This beautiful girl does have markings, so I will be including markings in this video. So these aren't intricate markings, but I've basically, because both sides have different markings, I've gone ahead and already cut out and drawn everything, but I will explain it. So I did do two separate pieces, the front and the back, and then the back of the head comes up. So what I did was I got my measuring tape and I measured from this point down to about here, I would say, where we'd want it for the back. Could always go all the way down, but just as long as you get a different measurement. So I was adding basically about an inch compared to the front. So what I did was at the bottom I had some paper and I drawed from the middle and added an inch at this point and then kind of curved it up. Here. You don't need to add anything onto the side pieces with the shoulders because that's still going to fall the same because it only starts going up at about here. So we've got that covered. Marking wise, so let's start with the back. So the back bit for the actual neck itself, I've had to draw a line because this part is the neck, the 5 centimeters. Then once it starts reaching the shoulders, it becomes the back. So I've had to draw a line so I could find out, compare it to the reference sheet where markings are. It just makes it a lot easier. So for the neck piece, we've got this rainbow bit coming down, and then it carries on kind of coming down the back part way. So I've just done it all the way down, but to be honest, from about here anyway, it will not be seen because it gets tucked in. So this is just as a kind of safeguard, so grey doesn't get shown, it doesn't look choppy. So I've just done the markings here. Then I've marked it rainbow, the direction, and you want the third direction going down the neck. Then we have grey on this side, we have grey on this side, and these little lines are to remind me that these bits need to be sewn together. So I'm going to add a centimetre seam allowance when I cut it out of the fur, or when I draw it onto the fur. I wouldn't go any more than a centimetre because you will have to hand sew this, therefore it's only about a centimetre. And we also need a centimetre on this neck bit, but not this bit, because this bit is going to get sewn together to this bit. So these guys need about half a centimetre each, or you could do 1 centimetre and the other no markings, whichever one you would prefer. So that's the back neck bit. Now for the front neck bit, we have white at the front of the neck because it comes down to the chest, but right at the sides before the shoulders it becomes grey. So I've just, because it's fur, it won't literally look like a strip. If it was cotton or something, it would literally look floppy, but because it's fur, it won't. The fur will kind of blend it in. So I've literally done a straight line down, taking about 3 inches off each side to have grey. Now the way that I measured that, I looked at the reference sheet, I saw that the shoulder bits were not white. So I know that the shoulder bits are not white. And I know that I measured halfway to be about here for the fursuit. And that's about half the shoulder, which is perfect. So I measured from the half point to about where the shoulder starts, which is here. And that became 3 inches. So I then took 3 inches off each side. So here it will be grey, and then down here it will be white, which is what the reference sheet shows. And like on the back piece, I've marked which pieces are grey, which pieces are white, the fur direction on each piece, and then I've also marked which bits need seam allowance, including the white and the grey that gets put together. So before we get the fur, what we need to do is cut the pattern pieces. So I'm going to cut out the grey and white. Now, even though I've got this line, this was just to show me where the neck pieces was. But I'm not going to cut out one square and then this bit, because this is all grey. I can just cut out along this line. And the same on the back. So this line in the middle is basically invisible now. Yeah, so each piece has been cut out. Now let's get the fur. Okay, so all of our pieces have been cut out. The next step is to sew the pieces themselves together. So what you want to do is make sure they're right sides together. The right side is the piece you want to see on the outside, and the piece you want to see on the outside is the fur. So make sure you put it fur sides together. You can pin or clip these pieces together, it's up to you. When clipping together, make sure to line it out from the bottom going up to the top. This way you can trim off any excess at the top.
A través de la gran oscuridad hasta que me convierta en rayos y más allá. A través de la gran oscuridad y más
Okay, so now that these guys have been put together, what we need to do is sew them together using the blanket stitch, I believe it's called, and this should help bind it together really strong. Make sure you do use extra strong thread, especially for the neck, because there is going to be no glue to keep it in place, and you could always glue once you've sewed it over the top just a little bit. However, it may add a small texture that might not be so nice for the client. So I'm just going to sew it together with extra thread, and I'll be back in a second. So the two neck pieces have now been sewn together. So now we're going to be attaching it to the head. Now this part can be quite tricky. One, because, well, you would have had glue. So depending on how far down you went with the glue on the head depends on how tricky it's going to be to push it through, because sometimes you will have to push it through the glue and it gets quite stiff. So having something like a thimble, I think they're called, to help push the needle through is really helpful. The other thing is to have a curved needle. I would have one smaller than this, but this is so that you can just kind of push it through and it automatically curves round. It just makes it a lot easier, especially when you're sewing the side parts together once it's on the neck. So you can get rid of your pattern, you don't need it anymore. Now when attaching your neck, if it doesn't quite reach all the way around, do not panic, because you can actually add material to the neck. But the first thing you want to do is pin it in place and see where it's fitting, all of that kind of stuff, and pinning it halfway. So let's do that.
Thoughts get thrown around, but we keep going on believing.
So for the back bit of the rainbow, I'm going to try and measure it and then go to the halfway point, and then match up the halfway point on the back neck bit as well as the halfway point of this rainbow.
This time it's not about escaping. We don't feel like it.
Perfect.
We don't feel
now
like
we have all of it clipped on, so we know where everything's going to be. And then the next step is to sew it on. So what you're going to do is, I would probably start with the front, and then I'll start at the side, and then I'll sew the front bit on, using the same stitch we did to sew it together, and you want to go through the fur. So if you need to go through the foam because it's stuck to the foam, then that's totally fine, but it doesn't sew well to foam, so as long as you make sure you do go through fur, then you should be fine.
We both have thoughts of leaving when thoughts get thrown around, but we keep going on believing, and on till we're all cried out, 'cause we don't feel like throwing it all away. We don't feel like it.
So this is the final piece with the neck on. Obviously I've just got all of the tongues in there just to keep them in one place so I don't lose them. And oh my god, she looks fabulous. So this is the neck with the side bits sewn. The final bit, what we can do is glue the end knots down so it doesn't show through. But this is completely up to you, you don't have to, but it just stops it showing. And the same on like these bits down here as well, so you guys can go ahead and do that. So the feline is Lidunzo. What do you guys think? I really enjoyed making her, and now we've got the rest of her to go.